Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunday Special. This is episode 3, and we'll be looking at Final Fantasy VII Remake's developers. There's 11 of these in total. There are comments about the state of the game, where they came from, and what they're trying to do going forward with this amazing title. So sit back, relax, or better yet, fire up your favorite RPG, JRPG, or any other thing you want to do to relax. Sit back and we'll tell you a tale. We will start with the producer of Final Fantasy VII Remake. His name is Yoshinori Kasai. He is a producer. He says, in the several years following 2009, when I was running all over the world promoting Final Fantasy XIII series, I had the opportunity to speak to many fans and journalists. The question that I always got as we got to part ways was, when are you going to make Final Fantasy VII Remake? I was to the point where it almost felt like an alternative way to say goodbye. So I eventually started preemptively giving my response to the question before they'd even ask it. Quote, if we were to create a remake of that now, it would be an enormous amount of data, and who knows how many years it would take. But if the right time comes along, we might just do it someday. This is how I'd respond back then. Who knows how many hundreds of times. To all the people I had a chance to meet with back then, the right time has finally arrived. For Final Fantasy VII Remake, developers who worked on the original game have come on board once again as core members, including myself as producer, Tetsura Nomura as director, Monomu Toriyama as co-director, and Gashinji Nojima on story and scenario. Additionally, we also have people like co-director Nyako Hamaguchi, who are now part of the core development team, who was just a fan of Final Fantasy VII back then. And to my delight, creators from younger generations all over the world have come forth upon hearing news of Final Fantasy VII Remake's production. While ensuring that the spirit of the original game is kept intact, these members are adding to the power of a new generation. As a result, the game that is about to be born surpasses even my own expectations, as one who voiced the desire to take on this endeavor in the first place. In fact, the one who's looking forward to playing the game the most right now might actually be me. Again, I do apologize for my Japanese pronunciation. It is not the best. I know this. Next, let's talk with the director, Tetsura Nomura, who's the director and concept design. He says, I started up the Final Fantasy VII Remake project around the time of compilation of Final Fantasy VII. We'd gone through Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus, and I was playing this by myself for about a year as the fifth and final entry in the compilation. Since that initial plan and my first ideas, other projects took shape and began very busy as they moved forward, but I never stopped thinking about 7. As such, I feel like I'm looking forward to the release as much as anyone, as I've been carrying around these ideas for a long time. Opportunities for discussing our true intentions are few, but with regard to the size of the game that many are asking about, there's no reason to worry at all. Even in this Midgard portion alone, the density and volume are so great that I had to give directions to lighten them. With regard to new characters, of whom I said during past interviews there would be none, though they aren't main characters, their numbers ended up growing considerably in the process of creating such a rich description of Midgard. When you think of Midgard's final boss, you probably think of the Motor, M-O-T-O-R. But in this game, new bosses will appear and add to the excitement of the story even more. We've already begun working on the next one as well, but I'm confident that playing through this title will expand your expectations just like the world that extends beyond Midgard. Until next time. Next, we have Kazuushige Najima, story and scenario. It must have been the very beginning stages of developing FF7 Remake that I got to see the remake version of Cloud for the first time. It wasn't post-Advent Children Cloud, with kindness brimming from within. Rather, there was a young man with fiery features, looking straight at me through the screen with aggression in his eyes. I knew right then, oh, this is it. This time, it was this Cloud that I needed to depict. When Cloud came to Midgar and was hired by Avalanche, this was the sort of look that he would have had on his face. So I revisited the experiences that he had in his life so far, thinking of the effect each individual effect would have had on him. His attitude towards childhood friend Tifa. How would he react towards Barrett? What sort of distance would he keep while interacting with passerbys on the street? I pictured the scene of Midgar in my mind and imagined Cloud moving through it. Write new lines of dialogue to add for him. This is how Cloud in the remake version came to be. It was an exciting task to introduce the current of wind to Final Fantasy VII, but at the same time there was some fear. The original game used cartoon-like stylized art, and the story was completed by players using their imagination to supplement portions that couldn't be depicted as a result. Even if they were seeing the same scene, the information they took away from it and how they interpreted it differed depending on the viewer. Perhaps it's what might be considered a narrative form of storytelling nowadays. In FF7 Remake, there will be much less room for player imagination. This fact will probably change the feel of the story considerably. People who know the original might not quite know how to take it. Such is the fear that I have, but I also have conviction. It should be possible to feel a much deeper connection to Cloud as you join alongside him. It would be amazing if you could feel that fiery flame together with him. Up next is Naoki Hamaguchi, co-director, game design, programming. When the original Final Fantasy VII was released, I was just another student who dreamed of being in the gaming industry. I, of course, played the game, but I also reread the guidebook over and over again, my heart stolen by the engaging universe. I remember wishing strongly that I'd be able to create a game like it some days. 22 years later, the student who dreamed of Final Fantasy VII is now involved in developing the remake. I can't help but feel like it's fate. In this title, I handled overseeing the development team overall, such as deciding development milestones, constructing a workflow using Unreal Engine, and taking responsibility for game design. Here, I met staff members who were involved in the original game, who entered the industry with childhood dreams of Final Fantasy VII just like me, and those who were drawn by the allure of Final Fantasy VII and joined the development team from overseas. It was a gathering of amazing creators with passion and ambition towards the game. All I have is gratitude for having the opportunity to meet this team. With all this in mind, I've considered the following phrase important. Quote, respect for the original. Unquote. FF7 Remake takes on the challenge of creating something different, of creating something that's created specifically thanks to the technological power and entertainment quality that matches the current generation, while treating the captivating elements of the original form with respect. For those who've played it, new but familiar. For those who haven't played it, experience the charm of FF7, which moved the hearts of many, now created with the most modern technology available. I hope you enjoy it. Motomu Toriyama, co-director, scenario design. For the original game, I joined the project as a planner who was just starting out on my career. I worked on the Sector 7 slums and wall market. In producing Final Fantasy VII Remake, the thoughts and feelings I had when I was just starting out back then were revived. But at the same time, I took on the challenge of new methods of expression that I'm able to execute now that I had the experience. The original version was a forerunner when it came to RPGs that used 3D CG, but the characters were made of polygons, the dialogue was in text only, and cameras weren't able to use for cutscenes. In FF7 Remake, we're using the newest visuals, voice acting, and character facial expressions to redesign the Final Fantasy VII universe to be more realistic. By increasing the realism of the universe within the city of Midgar, which is made prosperous by Mako energy, we of course also reimagine the characters who reside there, like Cloud and Tifa, more vividly as living and breathing human beings, depicting their daily lives and feelings in a more in-depth manner. We took care to remake not only main characters, but also characters like Johnny and the Shinra middle manager who were created back then. Please keep your eye out to see how they make their new appearances. Additionally, in remaking the Honeybee Inn at Wall Market, we revived it as a pantheon of entertainment, which couldn't be realized back then. Here, the scene that many of you have been eager to see, where Cloud disguises himself. Please enjoy. Well, with that, we'll take just a quick pause and be back with the last half of the Sunday special here on the JRPG Report. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed it so far. Let's continue on with the developer comments. Next up is Shintaro Taki, who is over graphics and the VFX director. He says, I created the effects for the original Final Fantasy VII. Back then, the scope of development was so I can't do that one. It was so massive that I just threw myself into the tasks of which I was responsible, without even fully understanding what sort of game we were creating. Near the final stages of development, when I finally tried playing the test version, I remember being surprised by the graphics and the depth of the story. It was how fully realized it was, and I remember enjoying the game as a player. It's been 22 years after that, and I'm participating in FF7 Remake project as a developer. And today, I'm able to experience the impact and fun similar to that of the previous title. For the remake, I've mainly directed the effects section, while also crossing over into other sections for decisions and directions on overall graphics. Among the first major games that are celebrated for their photorealistic graphics, Final Fantasy VII is a little different. Not only is it realistic, but I believe you'll notice that it incorporates playfulness in the design and colors for originality not found in other games. Effects are an area that is particularly conducive to expressing various elements of playfulness. I hope you'll enjoy various effects that are not only beautiful, but also convincingly portray realism and magic. Various elements of game design and graphic design have been packed into every last corner of the vast Midgar. I hope you enjoy it. Next we have Teruki Endo, Battle Director. When I played the original version, I wasn't on the game creation side of things, and I remember enjoying as a player and feeling constant surprise at the evolution of games. The three-dimensionality of the stage and the dynamism of the battle scenes have left a strong impression on me. Back then, I never imagined that I would someday be on the side of creating games where I would be able to be involved in that game. Speaking to my own personal experience, I had mostly been creating action games thus far, so for this title, I took on the challenge of remaking a system that was not only an action game originally, and incorporating action elements into it. Production was completely different from that of a pure action game, and the need for new design philosophy often arose. Production involved constantly searching for the best balance between action and command elements, but I believe we've managed to do this in an exciting new way. In order to create battles that are surprising and never boring, we worked hard to create a variety of strategic elements for each boss and enemy. Also, in constructing battle systems for each character, we wanted to respect the image of the original version while additionally introducing many new abilities. I hope you're able to find your own style of play by combining those abilities with materia. Next, we have Makoto Miyake, Environment Director. For Final Fantasy VII Remake, the graphics team worked on the theme of how would Midgar look if it existed in real life. As such, as the environments team, we examined those portions that were once left to the players' imaginations, fell outside of the on-screen area, or between scenes, and tried to supplement them in detail. For all the fans out there, we worked our hardest and hope that you'll be able to relive an experience that also surpasses your memories. For all those playing for the first time, we worked our hardest with the sole hope that you'll experience this amazing universe that's remained beloved by so many for 22 years and has been able to convey its charm. Additionally, in order to create a fitting backdrop for the drama unfolding around the main characters, and in order for it to be a stage where the various characters living in Midgar can be their vibrant selves, all the teams, including the environment section, came up with ideas and worked collaboratively. Midgar is a closed city. However, I would be very happy if by experiencing the drama unfolding around its residents, the main characters who go through it, you feel as though Midgar actually exists. I am a Final Fantasy VII fan, so being able to take part in the remake was something that made me very happy but also nervous. It's been an unforgettable development experience. I truly hope that everyone enjoys it. Next we have Aichiro Yamaguchi. He's the lighting director. Final Fantasy VII for me, at the time when I was in school, was a very impactful game. It really pierced my heart as I was at such a sensitive age, with not only a rich story but charming characters, world setting, and music. Not to mention, that was the first in the series to be in a 3D polygon format. This was the piece that really brought out my interest in CG in general. When I was able to join the FF7 Remake team, I started by thinking back to how I felt when I played it originally. Midgar, with its abundant mix of different elements and original characters like Cloud, became something unbreakable and the standard for me in Final Fantasy VII. In the world of the game, just like in real life, if there's not some form of light, then you won't be able to see anything. So when putting up lights just anywhere, Midgar could lose some of its token Midgar-ness, and Cloud won't be Cloud anymore. I've taken as much care as possible to create the world that I have saved in my mind, and attempted to remake it in a fresh and modern standard. The positions of the few lights that illuminate the entirety of Midgar, the adjustments made to each and every voluminous cutscene. It's all a lot of work to do. However, alongside the rest of the wonderful lighting team, we feel that we've brought something great to the table. We've left in the elements that will have you going, that's what it was like. And yet you'll still be able to enjoy the world of Final Fantasy VII in a new and fresh style. Now we have Masaki Kazino, the character modeling director. I was among those who bought the original game on the day of its release and played it constantly, clearing it in under a week. Those who have also cleared it will understand this, but I also wasn't quite satisfied with the location, so I continued to play it after clearing in the same places as well. And so the memory of Final Fantasy VII was how I actually started studying CG and being left with a strong motivation to want to create a Final Fantasy game when playing it and being truly moved by it. So I just made up my mind and bought a PC to help me study, something that I had never even touched before. So for me, someone who had been so strongly influenced by the original, to be working on the characters of the remake, I want to do everything I can to make them in a way that shows both a charm and freshness while keeping that nostalgia. So I want to make them to reflect in a fresh way that also allows players of the original to remember the time when they played the original, as well as make them detailed and charming enough to give first-time players the understanding of just how charming they are. I've ensured to arrange things like hairstyles and outfits to recreate the design from the original, so I encourage anyone to take time with their camera angles when playing to take a look. Also, there are several characters that stand out, other than just the main characters that you'll find. So please see for yourself as to what kind of appearance and characteristics they have. Other than that, we've got enemies in there perhaps too close to the original, and there are many surprises coming in the remake for you all to look forward to, so keep your eyes out. And finally, we have Yoshiyuki Sama, the animation director. When Final Fantasy VII came out, I was actually more of a Sega Saturn fan, so I didn't get to play it straight away. However, when it was decided that I was going to join Square, I was put on the development team of Final Fantasy VIII, so I thought to myself, I'm screwed if I don't know about Final Fantasy VII. That's when I bought a PlayStation and played it so much. Those memories felt like just yesterday. So I can't say this too loudly, but I actually started out of obligation, rather as a fan. However, I was absolutely enthralled by the world and lore as soon as I picked it up. For the animations, each and every member of the team, from those responsible for battles, fields, simple events, cutscenes, mini-games, facial expressions, to swinging things in the background, actual behavior settings, have all worked together to improve as one. We've done our best to ensure that whatever you do, it feels like the characters are alive there with you. We really hope you enjoy the story of Midgar on a huge screen with Cloud and his friends. So that's it, guys. That's a brief glimpse into the working behind the scenes from 11 developers for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't quite as long as I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. You can enjoy this in a nice sit-down form. And don't forget to listen each and every week to our regular podcast. And look out for these Sunday specials every once in a while when I'm feeling like doing something just a little bit special for you guys. That's it for Sunday Special Episode 3. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, get back out there and level up.